Ever find yourself spiraling over something that hasn't happened yet? Yeah, anxiety's favorite party trick. One tiny thought kicks off, and before you know it, you're running down a rabbit hole that hasn't even been dug. If your mind's spinning like it's on a stress fueled hamster wheel, this episode is here to break the loop.
We're unpacking exactly how anxiety hijacks your focus and giving you grounded, body based tools to shut it down in real time because chaos isn't your natural habitat. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Stephanie, and we're wildly unbothered.
So, anxiety, we all kind of know what anxiety is, and we've probably all experienced it at times. It can be situational. I mean, who of us hasn't had to give a speech or make a phone call, that you are just dreading and your hands are clammy and you're getting ready to do the thing, meeting with your boss, meeting with just somebody that really stresses you out. Situational anxiety, we've all experienced it. And there's also general anxiety. But the fact is that we all need ways through those really tough times when we're experiencing the anxiety.
Exactly. And as much as it can be diagnosable and there are overlaps that look the same when it comes to anxiety, there are different variables to it. There are different things that can cause us anxiety, or for you, it might be predominantly racing thoughts and difficulty with making decisions. Or it could be something that's more physical and you feel it in your heart or you feel it sweating and the tension. So we want to teach some accessible options that give variety for the variety that happens within anxiety.
Yeah, having the variety that you're talking about is really important because anxiety comes in all shapes and sizes, and we need to have different tools in order to address it when it comes on, knowing that we have different tools will help us, and that if one doesn't work, that we can access other ones. It's like finding a pair of shoes that fits. When you walk in the shoe store, if you try on the first pair and they don't fit, they're not the right size, they're not the right color, I don't know, they're uncomfortable, you don't walk out and go barefoot for the rest of your life. You kind of continue going until you find a pair that fits, that is comfortable, that helps you out. That's the same thing with strategies to help your anxiety, to break that loop.
Exactly. And we love options. So the more we have, the more likely they are to fit or they'll fit the weather for the day. So with as many options as there are out there, we really wanted to give a few that you can keep in your pocket, stuff that are easy to practice and remember, as well as being able to use in a different variety of situations, just to give yourself the ability to breathe. So, what might be one that you like to teach or that you like to use?
And to kind of piggyback off of what you just said is that it's always those ones that are in your pocket, the things that you don't have to have a special something. You don't have to be in a special location that you're always going to have with you that are key. So the first one that is one of my main go-tos is starfish breathing. Starfish breathing. So starfish breathing is helpful because it is a mindset and working in your brain to help you kind of think through, as well as in your nervous system with your breath and regulating, as well as tactile because you're actually going around your hand. So how starfish breathing works is that you utilize your hand, and with the other one, you go up one finger, you breathe in, take a pause, and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And so as you're going up and down your fingers, your brain is starting to slow down. Your breathing starts to slow down, which helps your thinking to become a little bit slower. And so you can start breaking that loop. You
Absolutely.
can go around as many times as necessary. So if you're in that meeting with your boss or whomever, you can have that going on under the table
Mhm.
to help your system just get back in control.
Absolutely. I like that you combined multiple things with that. So the aspect of breathing is huge. That is one of the biggest things of slowing down our nervous system and slowing down our thoughts and stuff. But then allowing ourselves to be present and in the moment and have that tactile really reinforces that. So not only very available, but has multiple layers as to how it helps break that anxiety loop.
Yeah. So what about you? Which one is your go-to?
I Also, like using the present moment and kind of our senses. So, anything that we can pull in our senses and bring our mind and body closer together kind of helps slow things down. One thing that's very popular and another thing that's accessible is kind of the 5 to 1 grounding. So, we pull in all 5 of our senses and we look at 5 things in our environment that we can see. So, birds, plants, Lisa, my computer, my pens, my affirmation card, but then we go down. So from 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can hear, and you can switch it up the order of senses, but 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can touch, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. And sometimes the taste gets a little tricky, but if you have a glass of water, or sometimes it's just taking a swallow. So noticing all 5 of your senses and incorporating the environment in order to slow down your system and thoughts and allow yourself to be more in the present moment.
Yeah. Anxiety is so one of those so interesting because the fact that it just gets your brain going in all sorts of directions and that you're not even present. You
Huh?
know, you're not hearing the birds outside. You're not paying attention to the fact that there is a picture on the wall. You're not even paying attention that you're drinking coffee or eating, so the taste. So those 5 senses brings us all back to that moment.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of get out of autopilot. Our brain is great at putting us in autopilot. It thinks it's being more efficient, but when the autopilot program is stressful, we just want to put it back to manual. How can I come back into this and maybe do a system reset in order to have the autopilot be a bit healthier?
Yeah. Yeah. So the third one, our third and final one for today is a visualization and focus that I even utilize as I'm sleeping
Mm,
because there is nothing worse than waking up in the middle of the night and all of a sudden your brain turns on and it does starts going through that to-do list and it thinks it's being helpful. So it's the to-do list. It's like thinking through what the show that you just watched right before you went to bed is thinking about the phone calls you need to make tomorrow. It's like whatever else they can come up with. And then you start meal planning and whatever else is going on. So the visualization and focus exercise that I use when I'm trying to get myself to calm back down and go back to sleep is I do a body scan. So you're laying in the dark. You're not going to want to turn the lights on. You're not going to want to wake your brain up until even pay attention to the 5 senses. So in the dark, I just go through a body scan. So I start at the top of my head and I just do a slow scan through my body. And I try to find the place that feels the most sleepy, the
awesome.
most calm and tired. And then I just pay attention to that spot and I try and give it some context. I mean, if it's a color or a tactile feeling,
Yeah.
just any of those senses that you can put into that space. So then as your brain starts, yeah, but tomorrow I need to, okay, no, come back to that one space in my body and just notice it. And as you're doing that, generally your breathing again slows down and your brain will start kind of like going back to sleep.
Yes.
Yeah. So that would be my third one that I utilize on pretty much of a regular because
Yeah.
there's nothing worse than waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to get back to sleep.
Exactly. And I think a lot of times with visualization, it's so powerful and so impactful. I talk even anxiety. We're making things up. So if you're making things up where it hits the anxiety side, let's go to the visualization side where it just feels better. If I'm going to make it up, I'm going to enjoy it. But there's such a lack of direction or understanding to people who haven't practiced it. So for you to share the insight of finding the calmness in your body, we're combining our thought and where our brain is going with our body, things that are present and tangible in a sense. So we are directly combating kind of that stressful what if with reality, with what our body actually needs, or with focuses that feel better and take us out of that autopilot.
Yeah. And if I need to layer a little bit more even into there,
Mhm.
is adding a little bit more of my breathing around the visualization as I imagine breathing in sleep and calm. And sometimes that's even a color of like this light blue goodness. And I imagine it going through my body to the place that's calm. And then as I breathe out, it's almost like breathing out the stuff. And I
Yeah.
don't even want to think about those things. I just like imagine it not being there anymore. And it does take some practice and it does take some time.
Yes. Yeah.
But these 3, starfish breathing, the 5 to 1 grounding with your senses, and focus exercise while you're sleeping, these 3, if you have those in your pocket, 1, I would tell you practice them. Practice them before you need them. Try them out.
Practice while you're happy, practice while you can retain, practice so you can get comfortable.
Check them out. And then the second one is to know that if you're having some anxiety, whenever that may be, because you can use the one that I use for sleep. You can use that in the daytime. You just obviously are using it to calm, not to go back to sleep, hopefully. But is that practicing them is that if one doesn't work, you can try another one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We love the options. And I think anxiety pushes to have the answer. We need the answer right away.
Yeah.
What we're doing to break the loop is to regulate, then review. Calm the body down first, and then you can take the next steps. But without getting out of the loop, it all feels like chaos.
Absolutely. So how do you know which one to use when?
Trying it. Try the things that feel great and make a list with it. So have your options available and give yourself whatever works with your system, where it's a list on your phone, a post it note somewhere visible, a screensaver, something like that. I had a client that showed me a Pinterest board could be a widget now on your
Very
phone.
nice. Okay.
Pinterest board of options and it just slides through. So you can get creative with it, but having it somewhere helps really reinforce it and take out the guessing game when you really need it.
So I had one client that she made index cards so that she could kind of go through them and she knew where that box was when things got bad. And I also had one that she made it into a printout and she put it on her bathroom mirror. So when things went kind of sideways, that she always knew where she needed to go to kind of walk through and she didn't have to like conjure it back up of like,
Right.
oh my gosh, where were those 3? So
Yeah.
be prepared, practice them, and then you really can't go wrong.
Exactly.
So I just was going to ask, which one are you going to try this week?
I'm going to do the starfish. Keep that one in mind.
And I will continue doing my sleep one, my visualization and sleep one. And I probably will need to go back to the senses, the 5 to 1 grounding, because it is a really great one to even just to stay present.
Yes.
Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. And stay wildly unbothered.